present to you International Freethinkers. You're listening to the We Are Sober podcast.
I still get pretty hyped with the intro music, I'm not gonna lie.
Legit. Super legit.
It is legit. How are you, Justin?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm feeling better. Last week I was a hot mess. That's why we didn't have a show. So apologies, folks. That's why we weren't there. Because of me. My B.
It's always your fault.
It is. It is. Oh, I meant to tell you this, by the way. Our voiceover guy, no, his name is Mathew Randall,
AKA the voiceover guy.
AKA the voiceover guy. He wants to come on the show and reveal his true form, his voiceover guy form.
Ooh. Is he gonna do it from the road?
Probably, because he's always on the road. He is a trucker. So, yeah.
Voiceover trucker guy.
Voiceover trucker guy. I told him when I finally get around to changing the fucking the new voiceover stuff he did and the opening theme music, which I have a pending request for an individual to work on. Christine,
insert random number. Okay, Christine 7521. Christine 4498.
What's 4498? Is that your password code?
Yeah, to my bank account.
You
can feel free to make deposits.
8611. That's mine. Bank of America. Anyway, yeah. So we'll set that up when I get back in touch with Hisms on the roadsies. Yeah.
The Hisms.
The Hisms and the roadsies. And there's been minor talk, mostly from Richard Gilliver. Hi, Richard.
Is it Gilliver or Gilliver?
You can ask him.
Like I'm not committing to either one.
I'm not committing. You can ask him. That wants to bring back the parenting show we used to do. So we're thinking about that.
I don't know if I'd call it like bringing it back. Like it didn't go away. It's just not regular.
So
unless you retired it without telling me, and then we have to like break it out the archive.
I don't retire anything. I don't have that full.
Bring it back. Control. Sounds like a old school juvenile song.
What?
Never mind.
I'm trying to run through my knowledge of juvenile songs.
It's not elaborate enough. Don't worry about it.
Write it, my poem. Okay, sorry.
Is that Genuine?
That's
not even the same person. Clearly, we need to continue our hip hop series.
I've learned nothing. Hi, Cindy. Oh, that's not Cindy. Oh, hi. Hi, Cindy. What up, though? Hi, Oz. What up, though? Yeah, I clicked on the run button. Sorry. I'm very familiar with what I'm doing.
You got excited. It's okay.
I got excited. I did. Because, I ended up singing a Genuine song instead of a juvenile song. So, definitely need to bring back another hip hop show. But yes, Richard wants to do the damn thing with you parents again. So hopefully we'll be setting that up later in March. Yes, I know. Thank you.
What's Genuine is hip hop, and
Genuine
whatever.
is hip hop.
Yep.
It's right. Okay. Thank you. Don't argue with me. I know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of which, Genuine and Juvenile are the same person.
You know, black men all look alike. Anyways, Helen.
Hi guys.
Wow.
Hi.
What a weird
I can
conversation.
I can say it, not you, Justin. Shut up.
Wow.
That's right.
No, listen, Jenna, you're fired. Helen, you're in.
How did I get fired? Let me
From
just
your
move
own
myself.
show.
Let me just here. I'm the fucking guest. I'm gonna sit at the bottom. Go.
So
The
like
Helen and Justin show.
Helen
Yes,
and
right. I put
Justin
Helen's name first. Go ahead. I'm off the rails.
I can just be like this is the white people.
It's the white people show. She
The
said
white
it.
people show.
Helen, how are you?
Good. How are you
I
guys
am
doing?
not participating.
You're not going to participate in the white people show.
in the
You
show
started
that
this.
you two have on.
You started this. I'm glad you could be here, Helen.
Me too.
Nice to see you. I like your tats. I've never really looked at
thank you.
your body
Yeah.
art. What's that? Oh, ooh, that one looked like it hurt. That's right on the
It
bone.
did. Yeah. So my tats, my arm sleeve is like birthday months of significant people. So my dad's December, so you got the poinsettia.
Oh,
This really hurt. Like especially like the details like right on my elbow bone. It's
yeah.
quite painful. And then like the two marigolds are for my husband and my son because they're both October. The daffodils for my oldest because they're born in March. The daisy on my shoulder is for myself, my best friend, and my mom because we're all April. And I got a lily done because I love tiger lilies. So just
So that didn't really flow with every. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it didn't. No, I was just like, I like to fill in and finish it all off.
It just feels good. It just
Yeah.
feels good. That's nice. No, I like it really. I've
thanks.
I don't think I've ever appreciated or seen your tattoos before.
I
so
don't
that's
really.
cool.
It depends on
Yeah.
what I'm wearing because usually I wear long sleeves, but it was actually warm today. So, but summertime you'll see me in a lot more tanks because it's gonna get hot as fuck soon. So
Hot out, guns out. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Justin, do you have no? Wait, do you have tattoos, Justin? No.
Nope.
No.
I completely.
No,
lived
I like,
in
and
sin.
I'm itchy for new ink. Like I think for my birthday this year for myself, I'm getting myself a new tattoo.
I hear that's a thing for people that have a lot of tats. Like they just need to have something else.
Oh yeah, because I have these. I have the one on my arm. This arm. I can't. Wait, camera. There you go.
There you
No,
go.
Can't see. Okay.
No, turn it the other way. Break your arm for it. There you go. Commit, girl.
Jenga.
Like I can't even do it. Anyway, I have
it's
it.
fine.
Like I have to do this.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Kind of see it. And then I have one on my leg, and then I have one on my lower back, and it's going to be like.
Ooh, tramp stamps. I like those.
Yeah.
Those are always smart.
So yeah. So and I haven't had a new tattoo in like 8 years. So I'm itching for a new one. So probably gonna get a new one. I want to finish this. Like I want this to be like a whole like Alice in Wonderland like psychedelic scene down here. Eventually, and then like I want to get like a xenomorph from Alien like on the back of my neck, and like it's gonna be a problem. Like I want to get an octopus on this shoulder. So
that's a wide array of options. I'll just
yeah,
options.
it's like Lay's potato chips, man. Once you get one, you can't have just one. It just evolves.
Isn't that
like
Pringles?
I never understood. Is it Pringles? I thought it was Lay's.
You guys need to work on your cultural references.
Sorry.
You know what? You need to stop being judgy, and I'll.
I thought it was Lay's. I thought it was Lay's potato chips. You can't have just one.
Let's just move on.
I'm like, what are potato chip slogans?
What are potato chips?
What are potato chips?
That's the existential question.
Yes.
Like, are Pringles potato chips?
Are they? Is a sandwich no? Sorry, I'm not gonna go there.
It's a hot dog a sandwich.
Well, a hot dog is a hot dog, right? If you
but is
depends
it a
on
but
depends
if
on if you add the bun.
It's in the bun.
That's yeah.
There's some extras. Okay.
These are the deep questions you have to ask yourself, Justin, in the middle of the night.
The topic of conversation for future shows.
Only if statics comes on, because that's his specialty.
Random questions.
Like
no,
statics,
the hot dog.
Statics,
hot
I
dog
realize it's a different time in Germany or wherever the
Jenna,
fuck you are.
I have to ask you, what do you sit on? Because you're always surrounded by blankets and pillows.
That's
sit on
I'm
the
like,
actually
cloud.
are you on a
she's
bed?
actually laying on the floor, and that's a carpet next to her head.
It's weird how I just set up that camera trick so you think I'm not laying down, but I am.
Yeah.
I'm always fucking
Oh,
cozy.
okay.
This is me being lazy
Her
all the time.
her camera's taped to the wall.
Right.
I mean, my
She has like a God's eye view camera.
my light is taped to the wall. Anyway, enough about me. Helen, let's talk about you. I know. What have you been up to, anyways?
I've
Young
been
lady.
chilling. I've been doing like I did 2 podcasts the past couple weeks because RFR is having their annual fundraiser with Ethan.
That's
So
right.
that's this Saturday. So I'm the head of the promo fundraiser team. So I've been like trying to get people go on podcasts, and I've been like promoting the fundraiser and stuff like that. So I was on the Harmonic Atheist last week. Actually, it was posted today. And I was just watching myself. It's always weird when you watch yourself, like, because you're your own worst critic. And I'm like, God, I'm weird.
I know.
Anyway, so
Same.
that's all
That's why I just never watch myself.
See, and I have to train him because I'm like, Justin, your mic, your camera
I'm untrainable.
And you know, that's why I had to like update my life and get like shit and everything, because I would listen to myself in the old days when I had like everything else in the back looked totally different. To see the transitions of how our show was a year ago, and I look at all my space before, and I'm like, wow, shit looked different, and I sounded terrible.
But you
So
just
it's
spend
like
a shit ton of money on a camera and a mic, and it fixes all your problems.
Well,
right?
whenever you get new shit, that is prone for me to get new shit. So stop getting new shit.
I know.
That's how your friendship works.
That's
why we're both poor.
We have the same mic. Once he made that displayed, and then he turned his shit purple, and you know how that shit gets to me. I'm
right,
like, sold.
exactly. Like
I got it a
told
week
you
later.
when you showed me your new mic, Justin, I was like, "Fuck, I need one of those mics."
I had a new one a week later. I just couldn't help myself. I had a Yeti, and I gave it away because I was like, I want the new one.
Like I told my husband, I was like, since I've been doing more podcasts and stuff like this past year, I'm like, I need new, he got me a small Logitech camera and like this headset and stuff, but I'm like, I've been listening to myself on the audio, and I'm like, I need a new audio, I need a new microphone. I don't sound as good as I could.
Sometimes spending a little over $500 is worth it.
No.
I'm not spending $5 on a mic. I'm thinking
I'm not saying I spent that much.
Okay.
No,
I mean, in total of everything.
That makes more sense if it's
180?
total. If you're spending $500 on a microphone, even professional DJs and videographers to be like, girl, what are you doing?
This mic was 180 for the HyperX Quadcast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the Logitech Brio camera, which is 200 or a little bit less than that, but
yeah,
I don't think the camera is not that important. Lighting is way more important than the camera.
Yeah, I wonder if I should get my other lamp.
So we're streaming in 1080p with the premium StreamYard, but it's still not going to be great 1080p at 60 frames. It should be, but streaming is inherently low resolution and low quality. But the lighting will do a lot more. It's more cost effective for improving your quality than upgrading your camera.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too. Like on certain YouTube channels, you can tell which YouTubers are spending more money on their lighting and setup versus a good camera. You can tell.
See, I cut costs out by sitting on the floor.
Right.
I'm smart.
Trade your chair in for a light.
I have a second light bulb. We have one light bulb in here, and I just need to replace it, but I haven't yet. So I should go grab my lamp in the bedroom.
I bought these.
But my husband was like, "Why don't you just get a fucking desk lamp and you just adjust it?" And I was like, "He's like, you can get one for $40 on Amazon." I'm like, I haven't bought it yet.
No, Justin, you were smart by getting those little portable ones.
Yeah,
and they're battery. So here's what it is with neither of them on.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks okay if I don't move, but as soon as I move, the autofocus gets screwed up and it gets blurry and grainy. but the lighting helps the camera maintain a constant
shot.
a constant ISO, so a constant light in the camera, and it can track a lot better.
How do you know I don't have any legs? I'm just perpetually here, probably.
And even if you had no legs, we would still love you. If you were just a torso and arms and head, we would still love you.
See,
do you roll like
roll?
Get your roll on.
Have you seen those people though? Like I watched one person that they didn't have arms, but they did everything with their legs, like drove their car and all this shit. I was like, damn.
I'm like, you're
they're
hazard.
way more talented than all of us, to be honest.
I know. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, here am I with my quad abilities, and like you're just
quad abilities.
Quad abilities.
Sometimes I can't even walk and do other shit at the same time. Like, okay, you can drive with your feet. I love it.
Yeah.
Clean them feet.
There was another one too. I saw another one where a woman, like she was a quadriplegic and she drove with her mouth. Like she used like a mouthpiece to steer her car and shit. And I was like, what the fuck?
That's dangerous. I don't know.
They gave her a license.
You go to extra lengths to prove yourself. Like I'm not damping on that, but I'm just like, I'm not taking that Uber. No, I'll get the next one.
Are you being ableist?
I'm probably. Yeah. I need to stop. I'm gonna shut up for like 5 minutes.
This channel should have been canceled a long time ago.
Justin, do more talking, please.
That's right. I'm calling Jena down her shit. Make it stop.
No, please call me out. I'm borderline being a little bit ableist, so I need to fucking stop.
We're all a little bit something. If Avenue Q taught us anything,
right?
We're all a little bit something.
Before we all get kicked off our own show, so let's talk about what we've been up to the last couple weeks and what we have going on. Yes. Helen, you mentioned that the RFR is having a annual fundraiser this weekend.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
So like Seth Andrews is going to be on, Dr. Ray, Shannon Q. Think like Paula G is going to be there. Like there's a bunch of like atheist activists that are going to show up for the live stream, and basically right now, last year we had like a goal of like $8,000 and we met that. And this year we increased it up to 10, and we're pretty sure we're probably going to make it because we have people that are matching donations. So we're pretty sure we'll probably make 10 or more.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, like it's really nice because like Ethan just did it for his 1-year anniversary last year. For his 1-year anniversary of doing becoming a atheist activist YouTuber. And then he decided to do it again this year. So we're like, great, so that's basically I'm just going on like, trying to shell for money.
Wait, I got a little lost in explanations. It was the 1-year anniversary of him being
last
an
year.
atheist.
So he's doing another one this year, the second annual one for his 2nd year of being on YouTube. He's doing a fundraiser for us.
For
last year's, for his 1st anniversary for being a year on YouTube, he did a fundraiser for RFR, and then for his 2nd year, he's doing it again, and he'll do it again next year. So for his 1 year, for every year anniversary that he does, he's gonna let us use his platform so we can make money, which is great.
That is fantastic. Yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah. As you say, you're gonna be there. And Biddy. Biddy. I like Biddy. Okay, awesome. So
I've just been busy like trying to promote the podcast and RFR and talking about the fundraiser and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to promote RFR and getting more people like to give us money, because that's the whole point of me.
Is there a direct link to donate, or
actually you just go if you want to do it through the RFR website, because we can just donate through there. So let me pull that up.
Yeah, please do. And then
if you pull up the website, and we can share the screen actually, and or put it in the chat.
Word. No, I think overall it is a good thing. I know RFR does great things, and for many people seeking just to have someone talk to them or someone hear them. Actually, I know there have been maybe I think I've called twice in my earlier days. So that nice, obviously these are volunteers that take their time, just like you, Bells, and like a lot of our friends that we know of, take their time out to, and they're not professionals in that field, but they answer those calls to allow those people to essentially vent, essentially just let go of the hurt, of the trauma, of anything, just for someone to hear them. And then of course, you do your due diligence of redirecting them to the appropriate resources. So I think, above all things, that's awesome. That's the important part in all of this. We're raising money to support that.
I do want to add, it's not, they do get some training and guidelines and scripts.
Yeah,
and stuff.
we're well trained.
Yeah, I'm not dampering that down at all.
It's not like you're calling somebody's house number.
Hello.
But we do learn we learn like a little bit of like street epistemology and to like active listening and how to ask relevant questions, because like a lot of it is just active listening and doing a lot of reflection back to people and stuff like that, and getting them to think about things a little bit more logically than religion teaches them to do. So that's basically what we're doing, and then if they're dealing with like actual mental health issues, then we refer them to like the Secular Therapy Project or something like that, because like I'm not a therapist, and I'm not going to diagnose anybody like, with anything, but I'd be like, hey, if you're feeling more distressed than what we can give you, here's a resource, but like 95% of the people that come to us don't need that. They just need someone to just listen to them and talk about like, this is the doubt I'm having, or like my crazy mom wants me to go to church and I don't want to go to church, that type of thing. They need guidance on how to navigate, these things.
I'm almost there.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, Justin, I'm going back to church in March.
That's the of the devil. You should definitely go to church.
Why?
Why? What? Which one?
Why are you going back?
What do you mean? Which one? The obvious one you just said.
SE of the devil.
Oh my God, I love you.
I think people really just need, because a lot of people that call just don't have anybody in their personal life to talk about.
No, and that's a lot. Most of the stuff we get is a lot of sexual issues. That seems to be the main topic. I don't know why, but it is. It's always like,
that's interesting, because the secular and atheist shows that talk about sexual issues and have explicit content and talk about secular sexuality are not popular, and they don't get a lot of attention and get any traction.
I know,
so
it's like, so weird.
It's such like a privatized, like, and I mean that might just be highlighting the harm that has been caused and the stigma that's been associated with talking about it. So they're only comfortable doing it, in a private context, but it just doesn't seem like in the public space anyway that a lot of people want to talk about it. But it's interesting that in the private space it's much more prevalent. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
It does make, but I also find it like interesting, because I'm very vocal about sex. I have no qualms talking about it and stuff like that. I think just I've been in the queer community too long, and that's what we talk about. Mm-hmm. But and also too, like, when I went through deconversion and all that type of stuff, like when I was in the Catholic Church, I was young, so I wasn't really comfortable talking about sex anyway at the time. And as I've gotten older, I've just gotten more used to it.
Right.
But I will talk to people like my age who still won't use proper names for genitals, and they're afraid, like, if they have sex doggy style, that God is going to smite them. It's just very strange to me, because I'm just like, but that's the shame,
but you have to look and you got to look and feel and see where people are coming from and where they have come from, as far as how distant or how recent their deconversion process stood for them. Because I could easily have been that same way. Granted, I'm a different case, but let me not use me. So anyone of my age or older, that actually, no, I know of an individual, and I'm not going to air out everything about them, but it's just, them being older than myself and having the hangups of that type of guilt and shame that was instilled on them. And they are presently a few years older than myself. And they have had a sexual experience one time, but through that one time occurrence, it felt uncomfortable for them. And they have, interesting relationship issues in and out with certain partners that leads them to feel that shame and guilt. They're still trapped in that,
Yeah.
even though they're an atheist, and they have been for maybe most of their life, actually. But because of the environment that they had to be in growing up, it still weighs on them. And well, obviously, it needs more appropriate, direct professional care to address that, more than I can ever do with a one-on-one conversation with a person privately. But it helps with resources like RFR to lead you to that. But I mean, it's not as surprising to me now, knowing people that are older than myself that still go through that trauma.
And I think also too that, like, we have a very like schizophrenic relationship with sex in the United States. Like, on one end, it's, sex should be freeing, and we have like, this female liberation movement, and sex feels good, and you should be able to do whatever you want. And then on the other side, like, God forbid you see a boob on cable television and everybody loses their shit.
It's just a titty.
It's always, one extreme or the other, and the thing is, though, is that relationships and sex are messy. It's very nuanced. It's very, it takes a long time to kind of develop your sexuality, what you like, what you don't like, what you're in, who you're into,
That's
and
true.
it might change as you go along, and all these
Very
different
true.
things. But people like simple, straight answers. And that's what religion gives. It says that you're with a man and you're with a woman and you fuck and make babies. That's what you do. And then if you decide not to do those things, you want to have sex with the lights on and do all kind of freaky shit, they're like, no, you're
Ain't no
not
shame in my
doing-
game. Put them lights
not-
on. No, it's okay.
I know. I'm like, why are you dumbing my yum?
Why are you dumbing my yum?
So,
Let me use that. Oh God, I love it. Justin, write that down.
but that's the type of shit that people have to deal with. And even when you come out of it, like, you might have let go of like your supernatural shit, but the sexual shame, because the message is still the same. Either you're a complete sexual freak, or you're chaste and you're pure, and you're supposed to keep it to yourself. It's
Right.
never like the in between, which is where most of us live.
And it's interesting because even with coming out of religion, there's still that, and like you were saying, that sexual shame. That just society.
Our culture was built on top of religious values and religious a lot of the baggage and hangups that we get from religion has been embedded in the broader culture. So even if you're not a Christian, you're still going to have some aspects of Christian teachings embedded into your worldview and your thought process about this. We like to say that that the U.S. and the West is not like founded on Judeo-Christian values and stuff, but they have imposed quite a bit,
of course,
on our culture.
Yeah, of course.
Well, like, and that's the thing about it, is that, like, we have the actual historical and like proof, but then there's the narrative that is given to us, because that's because narratively and historically, we know that, even if the founding fathers did have religious beliefs, they did believe in the separation of church and state. But the narrative we've been taught is we are a Christian nation. We have been built up on Judeo-Christian values, and it's informed every single fucking thing that exists in our goddamn society. Sorry, so it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, we know the historical truth that's there, but it's the narrative, and people focus on the narrative because looking at the truth takes work, and like, who fucking has time for that?
It takes work, and
Yeah.
people are too scared to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reality we live in, and that's when it comes to like sex and different things, is that the narrative is easy. If I
Yeah.
follow the rest, I call it the recipe. The recipe is easy. If I do this, this, and this, everything will be fine. But if I have to look at anything that is problematic or like makes me feel bad, or makes me question things, it's going to get uncomfortable, and I don't like that. I don't want to
Oops.
think.
Yeah. Just tell me what to do. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
religion.
tell me what to do, and then it's easy, and
Yeah.
that's why I think it's hard for, like, because that's another thing we kind of come up against, like at RFR or even just in our community. When you're talking to someone that is going through this process, they will start, like, you can tell they're trying to deconstruct, but there's still a lot of pushback. There's still a lot of that fear
Sure.
because like, once you start questioning one thing, if you start questioning like your God belief, then you have to question everything else. Like, what else was I wrong about?
Yeah.
And
A lot of things
that
can
is
tumble from that.
hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's we talk about how it's harder to change like core and foundational beliefs. And when you have something like a God belief that is a answer for everything, anything and everything, it's a catch-all for when we don't have answers, right? So you're embedded with an answer for everything. So if you can't figure something out, doesn't make sense, you have an answer, you have a solution. So when you take away that foundation, it does affect every single thing that's built on top of it, which for a lot of people is pretty much everything in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to question everything that you've ever learned.
Right, because a lot of that foundation was built around the faith. So everything that stems from that, how you are as a person, how you treat others, your relationships, your friendships, who you communicate with, who you don't communicate with, hang out with, so associate with, it's built from that and branches to too many aspects and too many things about your life. Sexuality, how you have sex, what you think of sex, how you feel shamed about it. If you don't, a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't think that people that are cradle atheists, or people that didn't grow up with any sort of indoctrination or anything like that, they have, like, my husband is one of those people. He just doesn't understand the
This guy right
yeah,
I don't know who you're talking about.
this guy
That
this
guy.
guy but like, he can be sympathetic to it, but he can't understand it. Like, my husband's the same way. Like, he's never grown up with any sort of religion. He just seen what it's done, but he's never come from beliefs, so he doesn't understand. Like, well, when we're watching atheist content or watching debates, he's like, why do people believe this shit? And I'm like, because they were indoctrinated. And that's why they believe it. And
there is always a heavy potential to fall back.
Right. Because and that's the thing too. I don't think, like, or you can be talking the talk but not walking the walk. You could be saying all the things but not have any real belief, because that shunning is a very real thing that can happen.
Right.
And or even if you're just like, if your employer is religious and likes to have morning prayer before we start the day, and you're a non-believer, but even though they can't technically fire you for not being religious, but they will find an excuse to.
Yes, you
and
would
that
be
and that
hounded on more.
it makes things a lot more complicated, because people are like, why don't you just stand up for being non-religious and just be an atheist and blah blah blah. I'm like, do you understand how fucking complicated that is in the United States?
The implications can be severe. Yes, depending on where you live. Justin, you have something to share.
Jena won't let me share this. So
Sharpies!
If you're asking what she's leaning on, it's a collection of wrinkled, fluffy dogs.
It's not a Shar-Pei though. It's a Chow Chow.
I used to have a Shar-Pei.
Where's a
when I was growing up.
You gotta type in wrinkled.
We'll type
Chow wrinkle chow chow. I haven't seen many
Wrinkle chow
wrinkle
chow.
chow chows.
There we go.
See,
Oh,
that's
that's a
that
Sharpie.
one. There you go.
Oh,
That's the chow chow.
It's
Oh,
more
there.
Shih
That's.
Tzus.
Look
Yeah,
at
that
that.
looks like my dog Shing Shing that I grew up with.
Shane.
Yeah,
That's
my
cute.
dad named her. I mean, star in Chinese according to him. I'm not 100% sure on that.
This dog is fluffy. No.
But it does look like a big fluffy chow chow you're laying on. So.
Thank you. I like it.
I like it too. I'm not gonna dummy or yum. Dummy or yum.
Justin, I hope you wrote that down.
Oh, we're just gonna keep saying it. We don't have to write it down. It's like enhance.
It's gonna be ingrained.
Enhance.
Hold on, I got it.
That'll be my third slogan for 2022. It's like my first slogan is what was it? I forgot my slogan. It was deal with your shit. Oh, don't be a dick and deal with your shit. That was my slogan for 2022 if I run whatever office I run for. And
I like it.
And then the third, the smaller caption will be "Don't dumb anybody's yum." So
dumb anybody's yum. Don't you dare.
Yeah.
Don't kink shame. Don't dumb.
Don't kink shame.
Don't kink shame or dumb their yum. I love
so
it.
everything you don't like is the yum dums.
Yeah, exactly.
The yummy dums.
That's gonna be
yummy dums.
Sounds like a food. Well, I just circle back on the previous conversation. You're absolutely right, and I agree. There's not enough viewed or seen or talked about conversations regarding sexuality and stuff. And again, it's the issue with content, especially on YouTube, where shit like that is not as easily viewable or gets pulled down because it's too sexy.
They get attacked, like mass reported.
Right.
And the algorithm doesn't know nuance. Like you could be talking about pro sexuality and how to have a healthy sexual life, but the algorithm will flag it as inappropriate content, though you may not even be swearing. You can just be talking like in general about sex education.
Well, that almost always it almost always get demonetized too.
Yeah.
So even if it's perfectly acceptable and within all the rules, it gets demonetized and it gets pulled from all the search algorithms so that children aren't incidentally sent it in their algorithm. So it gets it's not like shadow ban, but it gets the organic reach is significantly reduced.
So James Wolf 82, nice to have you in our Twitch channel. Hello there.
Hello.
Interacting with the atheist community in the south of the US has been such an eye-opener. I bet. Having only lived in Australia, the UK, and traveled extensively in the northwest, or actually he means the northeast rather, and southwest of the US, it's easily to take secularism for granted. Agree. Don't go down south though.
The northeast of the United States, since I grew up there, tends to be a bit more secular than and I live in Florida, so it's kind of a hodgepodge. But if you drive 2 hours towards middle Florida, you are in I'm
different
white
story.
And I felt like it was too white for me. It's very small town,
this is just
very religious. This is too white. I'm like what the fuck?
Keep her going.
I was with my best friend, and he's like, is super gay. My best friend is super gay, and he's like, you're my beard, and I was like, okay. I'm like, we're husband and wife. He's like, yes, and I'm like, awesome, because
there you go.
That's how uncomfortable it was, And I'm like. He goes, we are married and we're religious and we're just getting lunch. And I'm like, okay.
God.
But that's the kind of, when you're in that type of shit, that's the vibe you get, and it's so uncomfortable. And we were just visiting. I got to leave. If you live in it.
You got lucky.
You live in it, I
Yeah.
can't imagine if you're queer or an atheist or even a person of color. I'm sorry, it was all white bread. Like, it's just like, wow.
That shit can be difficult.
Yeah, I
No.
can't imagine. And it makes me sad. It really does. Because you think, in the 21st century, we wouldn't have like backwoods, like, if it ain't white and straight, I don't want it. I'm like, you need to expand your horizons.
I mean, those are my preferences. No, I'm just kidding.
White and straight. White and straight.
Justin, don't laugh at me. I'm just silly.
That's
No,
why I
but
love you, Jena, because you are silly.
I'm extra silly today. I don't know why. I talked someone's ear off an hour before we started. And it's like, I'm sorry. No. This I would love to see. Well, I mean, I know the ACA strives for what they do with sex X or secular sexuality,
Yeah.
and it deserves more of what it gets. But the unfortunate case is that the content, even if as professional and sound and detailed and geared more towards it being directed to adults and having adult conversation and making it be as professional and clean as possible.
Mhm.
The unfortunate slap in the face is because it's talking about sex. But
I think that I find that so strange because you could like stream like a horror video game where like people are getting like their heads chopped off and it's extremely violent and stuff like that, and
oh yeah,
that doesn't get flagged. You can still monetize it and make money. But if you're talking about like like teaching like a teenager how to have safe sex, that's going to get
Mhm.
flagged or not. It won't get
But
monetized.
we've been doing that since the early TV and movie days, right?
Yeah.
Where
Indeed.
there's so we have like NC-17, then we have rated R, then we have like MA. You can like Deadpool, the movie rated R, where they're like just murdering people and chopping heads off and stabbing people and blowing up buildings and this and that, and that's gives you the rated R rating. But you can have nudity and there's a certain amount of like sex scenes you can have to be rated R, but at some point they just won't put it in the movies, right? But you can murder 1,000 people and you can still put it in the movies. It just has to be rated R. So we've always glorified violence and been much more acceptable of it than sex, which is very strange for a culture who claims to be pro-life and pro-safety and support people and try to reduce violence and harm. But I think that if for a lot of like super hardcore religious people and a lot of like the conservatives, they would they're much more comfortable with violence than they are with sex. Like the conversations that you're talking about, where they have to wait for this private moment with this stranger on that they've never met before to talk about sex. But violence is probably a very normal, expressing violent emotions is probably very normal in their life, or seeing that is probably very normal. And I've seen this meme recently that, it was like, men claim that the women are the emotional ones is because we've gaslighted ourselves and everyone else into thinking that violence is not and anger is not an emotion. Because it's just really prevalent and it's acceptable, and it's for some reason we don't think about it as like like an emotional outlet.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about it. It's just like, have you seen the film? This film has not been rated, about how the rating system works, and
No.
it's great. It's a great documentary. It was on Netflix, and they talk about how the rating system works for film, and they go into the issues of sexual morality in film, and
Wow.
and how intimate scenes are so problematic in this industry. Like you can, like, you know, like, I mean, like you can do a horror movie like Saw, which is basically like the sequels are like torture porn. Like I can't watch them because they make me so uncomfortable. Like it's not fun, you know. And I love horror movies. Like that is my genre. But those movies, I'm
There's
just
a
like,
difference.
there's a different. I'm like, I'm not having fun. I'm just grossed out and uncomfortable, you know.
See, and that's the weird thing because go for it, yeah.
But they talk about like what, like an oral sex scene, like somebody performing, you know, oral sex, especially cunnilingus, is a problem. Like female pleasure in film is a problem. Like, and that's one of the biggest contentions in it because of misogyny, Jenna. Remember that thing we're fighting against? Remember misogyny?
I always forget about that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well,
Sorry to
me, my
remind you.
stupid woman brain.
I know.
The biggest movies.
Here, let Justin explain it to us.
No, I was just gonna bring up something else. And the biggest movies in the world right now are all these superhero comic book movies, and every one of them, they're punching people in the face, they're blowing up buildings, they're shooting fireballs at each other, and dropping each other off of cliffs and mountains and throwing them through the floor. But like, there was a huge deal when there was like an open gay character that said like 2 lines in a movie. Or if there's like a kiss somewhere, it's a big deal, but it's violence from start to finish, and nobody says a word about it.
Right. And the interesting thing when I view like, when I have viewed like shows from like the UK and stuff, and then you see the actual performance of oral sex, or you actually see a penis, I'm like, that's a penis. I see a penis. They show that on their TV. I don't see penis on my TV. But that's the thing. It's so interesting how the standard, the culture around it and how they do their media is so different. So
and it's weird. And the thing about the penis thing too, like I've seen boobs in films since I was a teenager, but when a penis shows up, I'm like, oh my god, it's a penis. like it's still a novelty.
Yeah,
I'm a 44-year-old woman. I've seen a lot of penis.
Men had titties too.
Yeah, and
but
I'm like,
that's not a thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it, that it's such a novelty that it's still surprising. You know, and that says a lot, you know, about our media and how we consume it and how it's produced and stuff like that, you know, and like, and even still, like if you show like a normal shaped person, you know, like if they don't have a perfect body, you know, if you show just a normal person, you know, with like some amount of body fat and isn't completely toned or whatever, they get hate on the internet, you know, for even daring to show their naked body, even though this is what 95% of us look like, you know? So again, why are we mad? It's because we need
to normalize dad bods.
Yeah. You know?
Oh God.
And I'm not like, you know, like I think if you can keep in shape and look awesome, like and because I love sexy people too. I'm not, you know, again, not dumbing anybody's yum, because I got my yums, like Idris Elba. He's a fine piece of man. Anyway, but going back to my original point, I don't understand why because of these narratives that have been fed to us, which comes from religion, unfortunately, of perfection, of like the ultimate beauty and all these different things. And like, it feeds into that whole narrative that if you're not this, you're wrong. And it feeds into the culture and how we react to people. That's why people, like, you know, if you see, you know, anyone that's not white and perfectly fit, it's somehow like a weird anomaly, you know, a lot of the time, which it shouldn't be, because it's stupid. It's like arbitrary rules that we put on ourselves, but we don't know why we put on the arbitrary rules, you know, because we don't really, that's a dichotomy that we're constantly living with and trying to figure out, you know, and I think that's why like everything's kind of in flux right now. Like we're kind of like, we keep tittering back and forth all the time because we can't find the equilibrium right now. You know, we're trying to, but it's basically like, we're always back and forth, and I understand, because like I deal with it too. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like I sit there and I'm like, is porn exploitative to women, or is it feminist? Like, is it feminist? Like, I do the same thing. Like, I'm sitting there going in my own brain, like, well, she's making her choices and she decided to do this for a living, and I think sex work is great. But then at the same time, I'm like, but you think you got these like awful guys that are just sees you as a sex object? Is that okay? And those are kind of those dichotomies show up in my brain, and
Right.
it's complicated.
And it's only thought of that way because we've been taught and trained to think of it that way.
Exactly.
Like all of a sudden not all of a sudden, I would say, it's been classically viewed as, you having multiple partners, especially if you're a woman, you're a whore. And like, why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? If it's consensual, safe sex with consenting people, then fine, cool. Just be safe.
Yeah, and
Justin.
Justin.
or don't be safe.
Wrap it up, Justin.
Whatever yums your yum.
Your wife, wrap it up.
That's right, wifey.
Wifey.
I got 2 kids. I failed that mission.
Oh well. That's what happens when you don't wrap it up, Justin.
Yeah.
You create more spawn.
Yeah. Now you know what you need to do. Snip, snip.
Yeah, like you just get spayed like I did. Shut it all down.
Justin gets spayed.
Don't forget the neuter and spade.
Don't forget to
neuter and spade your partner.
Please. Neuter and spade your human.
This is a PSA, folks. Neuter and spade your partners.
Yeah.
Just do it.
That's why you should get Drew Carey to say on Price is Right.
God. This has dived into a very interesting conversation. I know we moved from the RFR to talking about sex to sex and media, but it was good. I like this. This was a natural flow of discussion that I don't often hear too much. So I appreciate your perspective and knowing that it is a genuine, not often seen topic of discussion.
Yeah, if you're not on the inside and on those phone lines or in those smaller, kind of private communities that creates a space for people to talk to this, you wouldn't even know that it's a thing that people talk about. And that probably, unfortunately makes it worse broadly, is that it's hard to be open about it. So, we're so quiet. We don't make a lot of noise. We're afraid to push back openly. And so it just kind of it allows the people who make the rules to continue making the same rules.
Correct.
And I think I think that's a lot too, like in Hollywood and stuff like that, this proto like push, but it doesn't really change anything. You know what I'm saying? Like Disney, for example, like, they were saying they were going to make Loki, pansexual and genderqueer, but the thing is, though, they only mention it, but they don't actually show it because they still put him in a cis het relationship, and I'm just like, because of money, because of China, and it's that pseudo cultural, change,
right.
Because it doesn't change in his status quo. Like all their executives, I'm sure, are mostly like straight white people, like they probably don't have a whole lot of people of color or diversity, in these upper echelon of who's on their boards, but they culturally, if they just do these little like nods, we'll say like, oh, you're being progressive. We're like, those of us who are kind of advanced beyond this shit, we're just kind of like, no, that's surface level. We were doing that in the 90s. It's 2022.
Yeah. I won't completely put the blame on white people, to be honest, because there are deep seated, kind of irrational thoughts surrounding people's prejudice against, homosexuality and other just, races of people anyway. Even if you're Black,
I'm not
Asian,
saying it's
whatever,
just
but
like
I feel
people's fault.
Right.
But
Well,
It is.
I think
but,
it's societal. It's not just one group.
But white people got
to be
65%.
perfectly honest, we kind of started it. So,
See, we
it's
started
just that
it.
everybody else adopted it along the way.
We're just trying to make it cool. No,
yeah, that's right.
But no, I do grasp your point. But but I definitely do grasp your point, and I think that's important to acknowledge and recognize, because even today we still have those issues. Even though we slowly try to make some change and display more different
you get rug
families
burn while you're talking?
No, because it's super soft and cuddly.
I can just
It's just like
I feel the friction of like this dog rubbing on your neck.
it's like she's like a cat, and it's like.
I had nothing important to say.
But this kind of ties back into what we were talking about before, when you start questioning your shit. Because this is what happens, is that like once you start questioning any belief that you had, it has this snowball effect, and then you're looking at everything around you, not just in your own social, but in the wider reality of the world. You're kind of going, is this right? Is this like, is this the world that I want to exist in? That everything is like, the recipe, the order that we were taught, the manifest destiny bullshit that we're taught, and which is also tied to religion and all this type of bullshit. Once you start breaking that down, like, and when I'm on phone calls with RFR, people are really legitimately having a hard time deconstructing this stuff, because religion doesn't just come with a belief in God. It comes with all the societal and cultural teachings along with that, depending on what sect you're in. And if you're like, I grew up Catholic, French Catholic, which is very white and very cishet normative, and as a queer person, that's not fun. And then, but I didn't grow up fundamentalist. But if you act like fundamentalists, like Jehovah's Witness, or like, Protestant evangelical, or like Southern Baptist, or like, Amish, which is like an extreme, but like these sects that are very isolated, they're very white oriented. I'm talking from a white perspective, because like obviously I don't have any experience on the blacks or other people of color kind of thing, but I'm talking about the white perspective of it. But what, like, those normatives are taught, like, you are the chosen people, you are God's chosen people, and this nation is yours, and you have to, adopt it. And that's why we're seeing like these crazy things that are happening in our society, because one, they know on some level that their society is dying, like, because there is a rise of people like saying like, this is a bunch of bullshit that you've been teaching us. Even if you might have a belief in God, they might not have a belief anymore in institutions, like religious institutions, because that's not the world we live in anymore.
Right.
And there's these death cries that are coming out of that movement, but the thing is, though, is that like when I'm talking to someone on the line, I'm not thinking about what's going on outside, my window. I'm talking to the person that's going, I was taught all this stuff. I was taught that God is real, and, he was going to take care of me, and that he was, help me in my darkest days and stuff like that. I'm not feeling that. And now I'm questioning, everything that I've been taught. And it's like this huge, it's traumatic for people. And
Absolutely.
I think that gets lost on the other side, when you're just talking to some theists because they believe the earth is 6,000 years old, and you're just saying like, he's a fucking idiot. That's not conducive to, seeing the person as a person that has been taught really, really bad ideas.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I'll go ahead and link the fundraiser support for RFR right now, as I did in the chat. But yes, please donate. They're having
we love money.
Right. No, the money is needed to do the action and everything that they need to do for the organization, and you're a part of that.
Because we're 100% donation driven. We're all volunteers. Nobody in RFR is getting paid. Not even our board members. Nobody's getting paid. We all do it because we really care about the mission and what we do. It
Mhm.
helps pay for the chat line. It helps pay for our Slack community. It helps pay for our podcast. It helps pay for any media spots that we have. It helps pay for our fall excursion, so people can meet active people within RFR and other activists and get workshops and support in person. That only happens once a year. Anything we do is all done through these funds. So if you have $1, donate $1. If you have $1,000, donate that.
Yeah.
I'm
It
not
definitely
gonna
goes a
turn
long
it down.
way.
It goes a long way, but
Certainly.
every dollar helps. So
Yes.
And RFR also runs a weekly Zoom call, RFRX, where it's like
you
a
can watch me
conversation
host every so often.
that it's hosted by a couple people from RFR, and they bring on a special guest or an expert to talk about things like secular sexuality, like all these different topics that we talk about. And they have a big Zoom call, and then they have like a after call chat, and then there's a private group that you can go into to continue the conversation.
Yeah, the private chat's great. Like I've had like I do the virtual support group and the women's support group a couple times a month, but I'll also do like the chat after RFRX, and I've gotten into some very serious conversations. And then like 1 week we spent an hour talking about like different types of baking, like just cooking for an hour. And then I've also talked about like deconversion and had people like reveal very personal information to the group depending on the topic and whatever comes up. But that's the whole point of having community, and I think that another thing about what we do is that we're providing community, because when you leave religion, you had a community, you had your church, you had your people, that you could kind of lean on. And when people are going through leaving religion, they're looking for a new community, because we can't do it alone. Like, we're all in this together, this human experience, and we don't have one another to lean on. You're going to feel isolated. And a lot of these people feel like they're the only one sometimes in their church that is going through this. Like they're doubting and they're feeling like nobody else will understand them, because usually when they talk to somebody about it, they get a lot of pushback, and saying, like, doubt your doubts, and like trust in the Lord and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And that's not satisfying when you're trying to deal with like, how can, having sex before marriage or murdering someone, it both equate me going to hell? That doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any logical sense, and how do you, merge that? And so the support that we offer after RFRX, even that support group, or coming, joining the Slack channels or coming to the support groups, is because you need a soft place to land when you're going through this.
But without these communities and without the support, without these people to talk to, it's really easy to at some point give up on finding answers and explanations and just fall back into what's comfortable and what works, even if you don't believe it, just because the alternative is terrifying and you don't see a way out, right?
That you stay in hell because you know the streets.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hell's Bells, for being here with us this evening. Discussing this. I know, of course, with the link to support the fundraising for RFR, of course, links into their website, and of course, link you to the information
this was not my plan tonight. Honestly, I just missed you guys and wanted to hang out, like, honestly, but I appreciate you allowing me to talk about like RFR and the fundraiser and what we're doing. And it actually was a really good conversation talking about like, the larger societal issues that religion causes and stuff like that, because this is something that we need to talk about more, and how it relates to our day-to-day lives, even though we may not always think about it 100% of the time.
Exactly. And it's still always needed. So, but by all means,
thank you, Farron. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. Oh, mwah. Thank you so much. No, that's great. Every dollar helps. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you.
That's appreciated. Yes, seriously. But RFR does great things for everyone, whether they're still in faith or not. So thank you, Farron, for putting your donation in. yeah, no, of course, Hell's Bells, you're welcome to come back anytime.
I know. I told Justin, I was like, listen, I go, I've been a bad friend, and I plan to show up at least once a month, because usually
Also, your camera and your microphone are actually working today, so
I know.
we're happy about
awesome.
that.
Well, the rule is that a husband has to hardwire into the laptop. As long as I'm
Hardwire the bitch.
hardwired in.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's a lot better. Doing great.
That's how you get smart.
That's right.
All right.
That's right. That's
All
how,
right, folks.
that's
Well,
how you make the
then-
yum.
Right.
Make the
The-
yum.
Just point at somebody. You make the yum.
Make the young. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna say something about foul. No, thank you again. Thank you, chat, for being here. Thank you for your donations. If you donated or not, please consider it. Obviously, Ethan Michael on the friendly.
Your friendly neighborhood
Your-
atheist.
Thank you. I forgot the why. I don't want to. I don't know why my head wanted to say young when I saw the Y in my head. But anyway,
He is young.
your friendly.
So,
Your friendly
Yum.
neighborhood atheist, yes. Support that viewership of the fundraiser for this weekend. By all means, please, because RFR does great things, so they do definitely need that support. But thank you, Hell's Bells. Thank you, Justin, for allowing me to be a guest on the Helen and Justin show this evening. And hopefully, I'll be back next week.
I thought this was the white people show.
it's the white people show.
That's why. Yeah. See. Okay.
You're a token person of color, Jena.
This gets more racist the more it goes on.
Yeah.
Till
That's
next
the
week on the
goal.
White People Show.
Just keep it going.
White People
Good
Show. Bye.
night.